Welcome to another episode of Movers and Shakers. I'm your host, Chazelle, and today is a very special day. It is what I like to call a Movers and Shakers celebration. Today, we honor our Black kings, our Black men who are leading, excelling, uplifting, and revolutionizing our business communities. Our guest today is a CEO and co-founder that is held in high regard for his innovation, creativity, vision, and culinary skills. Today, we sit down with the CEO and co-founder of Symphony Chips, Mr. Dondre Anderson. Today's episode is being sponsored by the Atlanta Black Chambers, an organization that is committed to the growth and success of Black-owned businesses. Welcome to Movers and Shakers, Dondre Anderson. Thank you so much for being here.
Wow, it is amazing to be here with you.
I am so excited. I've been looking forward to our time today because there's much to talk about. You've been doing so much in business, and so I'm really grateful for you taking the time to be here with us today. I want you to know that I do celebrate you and our Black male entrepreneurs. You are the hallmark of Black male excellence. And so I want you to know that I do celebrate you and all the work that you've been doing in business. So thank you so much for.
Thank you for that. That's amazing. Wow.
Yes, so it's a celebration today. We celebrate Black kings and everything that you've been doing in business. And so I have to ask you, do you believe that Black men have had a profound role in shaping the business entrepreneurial landscape? What are your thoughts about that?
So we talk about the landscape. I guess first thing that comes to mind is, the Black male legacy, right? Which has been disconnected so much and for so long.
Right.
I felt it was an honor to be able to carry on my father's legacy.
Good.
That would have just, just gone away. Because when he introduced me to his spices and how we actually started, it was just, he was just putting it on his eggs, just something, he just did for himself.
Right.
I was like, this is amazing. What are you doing?
Right.
So to be able to take that.
Yeah, we need to do something with this, right?
So to be able to take something he just didn't feel like was, I guess good enough or whatever. And then now it's blown up into this epic thing now that we have a premium brand all because of what he started. I think that's a phenomenal thing. So he definitely shaped the landscape for our family.
Right.
And I'm hoping that through the things that I'm doing, I can get other Black males or whatever to do the same things within their families, because it's all about building generational wealth.
Right.
And we just have to have the wherewithal to find these things that we can pass on.
Right.
That's one of the things I'm looking to pass on to my children.
Right. Do you think if you didn't have that experience with your dad, seeing him do the work that he did, do you think you would have still taken this path, or?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. My dad, because my mom is a Southern cook, right? Okay. So she's, collard greens and all that, right? My dad is the gourmet.
Right.
So learning the Southern food and then learning how to make gourmet food, that's how I got 4 children, right? Because I was able to cook for my wife. So that's how I was able to convince her to have all 4 kids.
Right.
So yeah, that definitely shaped me because my background's IT. So I was doing.
Well, that's interesting. I did not know that.
I was building applications.
Two different
they don't even go together at all, right? So, but because I like to think of myself in the IT field as somebody who has the ability to just talk and have a personality.
Right.
So I'm definitely an oddball there, right? Because most people in IT are very, all that, right? So being able to talk to people and whatever, understand what people's needs are, stuff like that. Has
so you've always been a people person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed that.
Right.
So when the opportunity came about to do this, it was great because when you can just change somebody's life just in a small moment. Because you don't know what people have going on in their lives or whatever. And when we first started out and they would just try our chips, they were like,
what is this?
Oh my God. These are amazing.
Right.
You get those kind of reactions, right? So it's like, wow, I felt really good.
Yes.
And just to be able to shift somebody's just energy in just that small moment.
Right.
And I feel like that's a gift that I definitely want to continue to give.
Right. Now, the Black community's history of entrepreneurship is often riddled with highs and lows, and ebbs and flows, and trials and tribulations.
Absolutely.
And so, what was it like for you when you started out your entrepreneurial journey? Did you feel like you had a lot of support? Was it difficult? Because everyone's entrepreneurial story is different.
True. I don't feel like I had a lot of support in the beginning because I just didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. Because when we started our company back in 2010, I couldn't Google how to start a spice company. Right. There was that just didn't exist.
Right.
And business mentorship wasn't really available.
Right.
So it was just, okay, let me just try it.
Right.
So it's something that I just did.
Yeah,
Luckily, I
it's
had
trial
the
and
IT,
error.
yeah. Luckily, I had the IT background to help support a lot of those. We'll call them missteps or whatever,
Right,
especially financially.
Yes.
But then as I began to go further along, people began to reach out, which was amazing to me because I always thought as an entrepreneur, it was a solo route. Like everybody kept talking about, well, you're just gonna be by yourself.
Right, you're on your own.
You're on your own.
Right.
But it's amazing when people see you doing something, they start to reach out.
Yes,
they
show up to
help
support you.
They show up. And so you just have to put yourself out there.
Right.
So I just kept putting myself out there and people kept showing up.
Right.
And in all different ways and all different places. And that's, how I came about to the Black Chamber, then RCIE, then how we had, all of the national attention we've gotten. So people just kind of just kept showing up. And so to answer your question, hopefully a little bit better, is that in the beginning, no. But then as it progressed, the support got better and better. Now I'm connected to people that are juggernauts and oracles, I call them.
Right. That's good. Yes. So you're one of the few brands that are Black owned and family operated, right? And so I have to ask you, what does that mean for you? And then I want you to tell us about the birth of Symphony Chips.
So I think what's important about being family operated, right? Because a lot of people say you can't do business with your family.
Right. Because, we've heard some stories now, Dondre. I'm hoping you can give us some good help.
Just stories. But no, I feel like with my daughters, for example, and even my son, being able to just, we just started, and our first ever outlet was the Atlanta Symphony. And it's just so phenomenal because I actually ran into the person last night who started us out at the Atlanta Symphony. So it was great because Symphony Chips and being in the Atlanta Symphony, right? But just getting out there.
I love that connection there.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. And having the ability to just, say, hey, we're just going to hand these out and people are just going to try them and just getting them involved. And then as things began to evolve for the company, then seeing what their passions lied, and what their strengths were. Because sometimes with our kids, we got to kind of push them into things and say, well, I've never done this before, but okay, great, neither have I. Okay,
yeah, so it's new for everyone.
It's new for me too. But here's something you can handle, something you can do, what have you. Excuse me. And they were just able to just take things and just do it. And so it's been great because while the empire is growing or whatever, them being able to find their own strengths and passions within our own organization, I think is one of the best gifts you can give any kid or any family member. So I think that was phenomenal for us. And then have a premium brand, because for us, because things just evolved, right? We just really just recognize that, hey, we're about healthier options this year. So because it's not just about, hey, we have potato chips, because there's huge potato chip companies out there, right? But I look at them as, hey, they're salt and pepper, right? But at some point, somebody had to make the Bentley. And so that's what our brand is. We're the only brand that has a 28 herb and spice proprietary blend. Nobody else has that.
You're bringing something different to the table.
Exactly. And so people say, well, who's your competition? And when I look around, I'm like, well, gosh, I don't see a lot of people out there doing what we're doing. When you're mimicking whole meals and putting it on the shelf, I'm like, well, what is that? Like I saw one was it waffles and chicken and waffles is one flavor I saw. I'm like, really? So that's supposed to be gourmet? I'm like, no. No, so we pride ourselves on being healthier options and vegan friendly. So that way we can, touch a lot of good points that people are paying attention to now. People are looking for healthier options.
I was just about to say that health and wellness is it's a priority now.
And so from our spices, we're doing potato chips, but then my daughter also invented a fry batter that's low carb and gluten free also. So that's based on our spices as well. So we have a few things in the hopper we're going to be putting out, but they're based in healthier options and always vegan friendly, so we can always make sure we're inclusive of all those markets.
What I love about your story is the fact that you are not just in business, but you are in the business of family, legacy, community. And so was that your goal from the very beginning, or did it evolve along the way? Like, was that something that you wanted to do from the very beginning?
Well, so now we're talking a little bit more about me, right? So years ago, I was a student ambassador to the Soviet Union when I was 16, right? Not many people know about that, right? In doing so, because I was raised in Las Vegas, so the Las Vegas community wrapped their arms around me and helped me financially to make that trip. So I've always had that in the back of my mind and in my heart. Like, I always want to give back. So as we look at our company now and we're moving into manufacturing, I thought, well, hey, let's start a nonprofit. We call it Symphony Crumbs, to pay homage to the inventor of the potato chip, George Crumb, and then Symphony, of course, the premise of, or the mission of that is to actually retool our community in vocations that are around manufacturing.
Okay.
So like, plumbing, electrical, waste management.
Right.
These are all things that are still going to be necessary
Right.
for years to come.
Absolutely.
So why not retool our community in those things?
Right.
And we'll have a great pool of resources to pull from when we stand up our manufacturing facilities or what have
Right.
you. So right now we have a scholarship fund out there right now that we're raising money to help support people who want to retool themselves.
Right.
So that's what it's all about. And I've always believed in retooling our community, because so many of us just feel lost. Like we can't
Right.
do, we don't have the skills or whatever, but
Yes.
hey, there's people
We're
out
not
there.
exposed to certain things.
Exactly,
Yes. Mhm.
exactly. So why not make that available to our communities? Because
Right.
it all stems with just, hey, believing in yourself and having something that you can be passionate about
Right,
and provide for your
absolutely.
family.
So tell me a little bit about the dynamic of the family business. What's it like working with your daughters? And I believe that you started out with your dad as well. What's
Yep.
it like? What does that dynamic look like?
So everybody stays in their lane. It's
Right.
very important.
Right.
So my dad, he's the inventor of the spices, right?
Okay.
So anything that we come out with, like we have our original flavor,
Right.
our smoked and balsamic that's out now.
Okay.
But then we just finished the development of our aioli line.
Right.
So he does that, right? Then my oldest daughter Amina, she's actually a film student right now.
Okay, good.
So a lot of the film and the videos you see out,
Right. Your
she
marketing.
actually does.
She's responsible for the
She
marketing.
does that.
Right.
So, and then my youngest daughter, Amari, is actually our production manager.
Okay.
So she makes sure that we have all of the stuff we need to make the potato chips, and we
Right.
stay, fully functional that way.
Right.
So those are very key and important roles,
Right.
and I think and nobody really overlaps.
Right.
So it's very helpful. But
So
they
is
all
that-
see the big picture, though.
Is that your advice for family owned and operated businesses? Should everyone stay in their lanes? Should you manage by skill sets? What's the best recommendation?
Well, I mean, but they're 17 and 18. I'm sorry,
Right.
let me correct myself. They're 18 and 19 now,
Right.
So I feel like you have to play to people's strengths.
Good. Yes.
And so I feel like, it's just figuring that out.
Right,
And I think
right.
as a leader, you have to, I believe leadership is all about service.
Yes.
So I try to help them find, okay, what are you good at? Okay, you're good at this. Okay, then let's do more of this.
Right.
You're good at that. Okay, well, let's do more of this.
Right,
Like my
right.
daughter Amina is, she has the gift of gab, I say, right? So
Right.
she's really good
Who
at
did she get that from, Don?
I have no idea where that comes from. But
Right.
she's really good at talking
Yes.
to people, things like that. So she also handles some of our account management as well.
Okay.
She can talk to people.
Right.
And just interact
Yes.
or
There's
whatever.
that personality again.
Exactly,
Yes. Mhm.
exactly. And Amari's very detail oriented, so
Right.
handling inventory, things of that nature, she's really good at it. Well,
Right.
It's there. So it's like, okay, let's play the strengths, and then as
Right.
that evolves, then we can do more.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's just starting somewhere.
What is it that you know now that you didn't know when you started out?
Oh man, there's so many things. Organizations that
Right.
are out there. There's some organizations that are smoke and mirrors. That's really sad.
Right.
And they talk about inclusion, things of that nature.
Right. I'm glad you touched on that. Yes. Because it's not all
It's
what
a
it.
lie.
Yes.
Lie. Dirty lie.
Right. And you're being honest. Yes.
Yeah, no,
But it's
and
not
I-
presented that way.
Well, no, I think a lot of them placate us in saying, hey, we're
Right.
going to include you and this,
Yes.
that, and the third.
Yeah.
But then what ends up happening is that these folks, they don't really make pathways.
Right.
So they talk about, hey, we want to include you, but there's no pathway towards
Right.
success
You talk
through
the
this
talk,
inclusion.
but they don't walk the walk.
They don't.
Right.
And that's really sad.
Okay. So how have you learned to navigate with that experience?
So what I've had to do is, luckily, there's some people who are a lot further along than me.
Right.
So it's reaching out to those people
Okay.
to find, okay, so how did you
Right.
deal with this?
Yes.
How did you deal with that?
Right.
Because that's where the inclusion part comes in. They talk about
Right.
diversity. Okay, so what?
Right.
Let's talk more so about inclusion. How do we get there?
Right.
And how can we include ourselves in this pathway that is really not the same for everyone?
Right.
So what I say I've learned is, one, to reach out more. And two, to leverage my network more.
Right.
Because
So you have to
never
find a
know.
community, right?
You never know who knows who.
Right, right.
And so that has been very beneficial, and again, that big shout out to the Black Chamber. There's another people in my community.
Right, yes.
So
They're amazing.
They're amazing.
Yes.
So leveraging them and
Right.
learning how to leverage people, I think, is really important.
Right.
And being an entrepreneur, or we'll just say business owner, because at some point I like to say business owner, because you have to elevate yourself.
Yes.
Because entrepreneur sounds like it's just you on the corner, because the person on the corner is an entrepreneur too, right? But then at what point do you become a corporation? Well, I feel like if you're running payroll,
at what point do you level up?
Yeah, I feel like if you're running payroll, you're a corporation. There's no difference. Just your payroll may be in the millions, may not be yet, but that's okay.
Right.
But I'm still a corporation. So leveling up is something else, and building yourself up, because your business is really an extension of yourself. Right. So I like to tell, what I would tell myself if I'm talking to myself, years ago, whatever, is remember to look at the things that you want to accomplish, and then once, how can I say it? It's looking at the goals you want to set, and then moving towards them. And then the more you include yourself in that, and putting yourself first, a lot of times you'll get there so much faster, because people always, it's amazing that people genuinely want to help you. So it's like once you make the initial step, then you start meeting people. You put yourself out there. You start meeting people. You start getting in these we'll call them smaller circles. And then you begin to evolve and go forward. And then as you start looking at the world differently, because I don't see corporations now, I just see vendors and suppliers. That's what the world really is. And then you start dealing with corporations differently. Because a lot of us, when we were out there in the workforce, we were like trying to get a job or whatever, and it's like we had to play the corporate game. But then when you're on the other side of the table from the corporation, now you're not playing that game. It's like, okay, what can you do for me? And another thing I always want to give is advice is every deal has to live on its own. That's good. Every deal. You cannot take money from one deal to fund another deal. Every deal must live and survive on its own, as if nothing else exists. Because if, long through this old rap song, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So I definitely believe in that. No, I think it's good advice. So let's say you get this opportunity, this chance encounter to meet your 18-year-old self. And you're only allowed 3 words, Dondre. What 3 words do you share with your 18-year-old self? See, this wasn't on the list. I got to think about three words I would tell 18-year-old me. 3 words, and I want to know why those 3 words. I would say those 3 words would have to be believe in you. I like that. And I would say that because as black males, and I can't just say it's black, because I think it's covered so many other cultures, is that we're taught to, you must provide. You must, which means you must always give of yourself, but you never give to yourself. So providing is always about giving to others, but never bringing to you, never providing for yourself. And self-care is such an important part of business ownership, because again, it's an extension of you. So it's like your child. Really, it's the best. I think that's the best way to define having a business. It's like growing a child. In the beginning, I don't think anybody likes infants. I mean, they all they do is scream at you, and they do vile things to you. It's like you got to remind yourself, I love you, I really love you, but it's 2:17 in the morning, and you're like, but that's what it is. That's really what it is, and it's every so often you get a smile. And and sooner or later they start walking on their own and start feeding themselves, But it's you always being engaged and being involved. And so when it comes to loving yourself and loving on yourself, you have to remember to always uplift who you are. I really appreciate that. People don't really get into that, because they feel like, okay, I got to take care of this, and I got to take care of this bill, I got to take care of that bill. Okay, what are you doing for you? And people talk about sacrifice a lot, but what do you sacrifice? If sacrifice is important to you, and that's a part of who you are, then what are you sacrificing for yourself? I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think it's a part of upbringing. We're just told that we have to constantly provide and give and work hard, and then you neglect you. You neglect you. And I think just as parents, a lot of times, especially women, a lot of times lose their identities. But then men lose their identities too when they start talking about providing. Because all you think about is who have to do what for, but never for you. And people say, well, that's selfish. Isn't that selfish? How you just worried about you? Well, but sometimes you have to be a little selfish now.
right?
Well, but it goes back to whenever you fly, the flight attendant always says the same thing. Put the mask on yourself.
Exactly.
And then the next person.
Yes, absolutely.
So you have to take care of you.
Right.
And whatever that looks like. See, the more you take care of you, the more you bring you up, the more goals and things that you're able to not just set, but see. Because you can only go as far as you are clear. And if you don't expose yourself to bigger and greater things, then you don't ever see what else is out there.
Right.
Because, your business will elevate and you will elevate with it, but then you have to have the foresight to continue to go further.
Right.
And if all you see is what's right here and never out here, then you'll never take your business to other places that you want to go. Because some people, but then some people's success levels are different.
Right.
I remember watching an interview one time. I think it was Oprah and Paula Deen or whatever, right? And Paula Deen was like, well, I would never want your level of success.
Right.
And people are like, what are you talking about, Oprah?
Right.
Praise Jesus.
Everybody wants that.
Yeah, everybody wants that. But then there's a lot of things you have to do in order to get there. Some people are fine where they are.
Yes.
I want that level of success.
Right,
I would love to.
right.
I would love to go to South Africa and my chips beat me there.
Right.
Yes. I would love my chips to be in places I've never been before.
Right.
Which is happening right now.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, that's great.
Right.
So I would love to meet them there versus me getting there first and trying to bring them in behind me.
Well, you are preaching the gospel today, Pastor Dondre.
I'm trying to give you as much as I can. I know we don't have a lot of time.
Right. So tell us, how can we support Symphony Chips? Where can we find, your brand, and how can we continue to support what you're doing?
So to find us and support us, you can go to symphonychips.com, and symphony like symphony orchestra, chips.com, and we have all our flavors available there. We ship right to your door. Then you can also find, if you're in the Atlanta area, you can find us in all of the Atlanta area Targets and also Walmart. You can also find us on Instagram. It's at Symphony Chips, and then also Twitter is at Symphony Chips, and Facebook is at Symphony Chips. So you can find us. We are available, and we want to give you the best flavored potato chip you've ever had in your life.
Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you had a whole lot of fun.
This has been amazing for me, my queen.
Oh, thank you so much, my Black King. It has been an honor.
I should have wore a crown too or something.
We'll work that out next time. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Movers and Shakers. I also want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, the Atlanta Black Chambers. Please visit their website if you are interested in connecting with like-minded entrepreneurs and business owners. Please check out the Atlanta Black Chambers, atlantablackchambers.org. Thank you so much.